on the previous lectures, okay? All right, this is our topic for the day, value proposition canvas. So last week, when we looked at the business model canvas, we emphasized that in creating value, you have to look at your customer segment and you have to look at your value proposition. So for this module, we are like gonna zoom in and really focus our attention on customer segment and value proposition. So we're gonna use a tool created by Strategizer called Value Proposition Canvas. It's an extension or an expansion of the BMC, all right? So let's have a quick look of a short video of what a value proposition canvas is.
Every day, companies design products and services to improve their customers' lives. But 72% of new product and service innovations fail to deliver on expectations. This means that customers don't care about 7 out of 10 new products introduced to the market. It doesn't have to be this way. Just like you create value for your business with a business model canvas, there is in fact a tool to intentionally visualize, design, and test how you create value for customers. It's called the Value Proposition Canvas. The Value Proposition Canvas is composed of 2 parts, the customer profile and the value map. With the customer profile, you describe the jobs your customers try to get done. Jobs can be functional, like getting from A to B, social, like impressing friends and colleagues, or emotional, like gaining peace of mind. You highlight your customers' pains, which annoy customers while trying to get a job done. Pains are negative outcomes that customers hope to avoid, like dissatisfactions with existing solutions and challenges, frustrations, risks, or obstacles related to performing a job. Outline customer gains, which describe how customers measure the success of a job well done. Gains are positive outcomes that customers hope to achieve, like concrete results, benefits, and even aspirations. Use the customer profile to visualize, test, and track your understanding of the people or companies you intend to create value for. It's a map that becomes clearer the more you learn about your customers. The second part of the canvas is the value map. With it, you list the products and services your value proposition builds on. You describe in which way these products, services, and features are pain relievers, how they eliminate, reduce, or minimize pains customers care about, making their life easier. And you outline in which way they are gain creators, how they produce, increase, or maximize outcomes and benefits that your customers expect, desire, or would be surprised by. The value map makes explicit how your products and services relieve pains and create gains. Use it to design, test, and iterate your value proposition until you figure out what resonates with customers. You achieve fit by creating a clear connection between what matters to customers and how your products, services, and features ease pains and create gains. Great value propositions target essential customer jobs, pains, and gains, and do so extremely well. Your customer profile may contain countless jobs, pains, and gains, but your value map highlights which ones you intend to focus on. Don't forget, an outstanding value proposition can still fail if your business model is flawed. Successful companies embed outstanding value propositions in scalable and profitable business models. Use the Value Proposition Canvas to create products and services that customers want. Get started at strategizer.com.
All right, so that's the video by the people, the brains behind creating the value proposition canvas. So as we can see from the video, the idea is for us to zoom in and be more explicit and detailed when it comes to who our customer segments are and what the value proposition is, right? So how do you describe the value, the match between the value and the customer? So just a little bit of recap. Maybe some of you did not attend last week's session. So the value proposition canvas comes from the business model canvas. So if you look at the business model canvas, last week we looked at the 9 segments, starting from the customer segment, and then we move on to the value proposition, these two are the heart of the business model canvas and the focus of our discussion for today. And from then you look at what kind of relationship do you need to build with your customer segment in order to deliver the value. Are you going to be full service? Is it personalized? Is it a community? Or is it self-service or automated, right? And then we look at channels. When it comes to channels, it's all that it takes for you from start to even after delivering the service and goods to your customer. So in terms of channels, how does your customer become aware of your product? How does your customer evaluate your product? How do they purchase it? How they deliver and receive it? And what happened after sales? Is there customer support? Is there a community being built around your product? And then with the business model canvas, after creating the ones that the customer see on the right-hand side, then you have the things that the customer may not see, right, or do not see. These are what are the key activities that you need to do in order to deliver the value to the customer. What are the key resources and assets that you need in order to create the product, create the value, and what are the key partnerships that you would want in order to leverage on the economy of scales and on the economy of scope of other people who are delivering a certain aspect of your business. For example, your key partnership could be your suppliers, could be your freelancers, could be a payment system, or even banks if you need a lot of capital in your business. And then lastly, we look at the revenue stream and cost structure. The revenue stream is how do you add up all the value that you create for your customer and make money out of it. In terms of revenue stream, some business just go on transactional basis where they sell the asset or charge for the services. Some go on subscription mode. Some are platforms or marketplace where they connect and charge both the end users and also the vendors. And lastly, all that, when you add up the other 8 blocks, you go to the 9th block, which is all the entire cost of your business. But a business model is very high level at this stage. So the focus of our subject today, as I mentioned earlier, is the customer segment and the value proposition. So this is how the value proposition canvas look like. On the right-hand side, you have what we call the customer segment, or in this case, we call them the customer profile. And on the left-hand side, the focus of the value proposition is what we call the value map, right? So if you see on the circle and the square, there are 3 items inside of them. For the customer profile, there's customer jobs, there's pains, and there's gains. While for the value map, there's the product and services, the pain relievers, and gain creators. So let's have a look at what these are, right? So business model canvas helps you create value for your business. The 9 building blocks, the focus is to create a business model that can create wealth, revenue, and all the moving parts for your business. Whereas the value proposition canvas focuses more on creating value for your customer. Forget about your business at this stage because, I mean, not completely forget about it, but forget about it in the sense that when you're building the value proposition canvas, always keep in mind that the focus here is creating value for your customers. So for the value proposition canvas, the customer profile is what you use to observe your customers' behavior and identify what really mattered to them. As we've seen with the video by Strategizer earlier, almost 7 to 10 businesses tend to fail because the market just doesn't desire or want it, right? So sometimes you're like forcing the market to accept your product, but in truth, you are not accepting or listening enough to create product that the customer really desire. And on the left-hand side, this is the value map which you use to design the product and services with a deep understanding of who your customers are. Okay, we move on to the first part, which is the right-hand part, right? The right-hand side. But before we move on, any questions so far, guys, for the introduction? Are you surprised there's no activity yet? It's good to go. I'll proceed, yeah? So for the customer profile, this is one example, right? And you get to practice a lot. I mean, I hope you get to practice with your own business after the session today. So here is an example of a married couple who's looking to have a time together, right? Without the kids, just having a date night. So here, if we look at the jobs that needs to be done, they want to have a fun moment that they can share. And when they're out on a date, they want to have the chance to connect again with each other, because maybe work or children or all life happens. So they want to rekindle that. So connecting to each other and sharing a fun moment is a job that this customer wants to get done. Remember, I say they may have kids, right? So the pain that they have is if they were to go out or watch a cinema or go to a football match or something, then one of the pain that they may face, or going to a theme park, is waiting in line, right? That's one of the common pains that I guess this profile of customer have if they want to have a private time with each other. Number two is they're not able to find a babysitter. Maybe a babysitter is very hard to find in Kuala Lumpur or in Kuching, right? And thirdly, the thing that they're doing may not be intimate enough, right? It's hard to be intimate, I guess, when you're watching The Hulk, right? In the cinema and there's a lot of people. Huh? And thirdly, if you look at people looking to go out on a date, what are the gains that they are looking for? So the example of gains that they're looking for are, they want to have a moment that they both enjoy. It's not something that one party or one person, the guy likes it or the girl likes it, but it's not something that's enjoyed together. So that's one of the gains that they want to get when they go on a date, right? And thirdly, and secondly, for gains, they want something that leads to great conversation. Maybe after they enjoy the moment, they can actually, on the way back and all that, they can have a laugh about it, right? So that's a typical, I guess, date. And you guys will probably know better than me. So looking at this customer profile, right? Do you have any question? Do you understand how this works so far? If you don't, or you have any question, or if yes, even, please share them on the chat for a moment. Or if there's any technical issues as well. So far, so good. Thanks, Crystal. Excellent. So I chose to give a date as an example because some of you may be creating experiences and all that. So this may fit your customer profile, right? But there are many situations that the customer face that you can design a profile around it. Other examples could be going through traffic, right? Or other examples could be if you are probably frustration with health or something, right? Or wanting to eat healthier. So that then you can build a profile around customers trying to eat healthier. So maybe the pain is like healthy food. Healthy food may not be delicious. So that's one of the pain, right? So the gain that they want is they want healthy food that is tasty, right? That fits to the Asian diet maybe, right? Rather than always having salad and dressing and all that. Can I have something that reflects my Oriental culture or my Indian culture and all that, right? Okay, let's look at each of the elements in the customer profile more deeply, right? When you look at customer jobs, what is it that they're trying to get done in their work or in their life, right? If you look at the example of the date night, they want a date night, basically, right? If you look back here, the jobs that needs to be done is actually, it's not so much a feature, but they want to share a fun moment, right? They want to connect to each other. Customer job could be a task that they're trying to perform or complete, problems that they're trying to solve, or a need that they're trying to satisfy. So if you look at customer jobs, right, there are certain things that are functional. I want to mow the lawn. I want to eat healthy, like I said earlier, or I want to get a report done and I don't want any typo or or mistakes, or I want it to be formatted really well. If we look at social jobs, this covers the social aspect of people with people. So some product that you're building, people may have a desire for the job, for the product or services to make them look trendy, to make them look cool, right? Or to be perceived as competent. If you look at the functional job is write a report, but competence means that it is something that others view the customer as, right? And thirdly, is more personal. It's something that is for themselves. So this could be if they go on an investment, one of the jobs that they're looking for is this investment will not worry them. They won't like suddenly lose 50% of the value when they wake up the next morning, right? If people are buying a house, right? So they want to feel safe, or they want to feel cozy, right? So it's a personal thing, right? Or they want to something that reflects their taste, for example. And next, filling job security is also personal. It's not a social thing at the workplace, right? So this, for example, a product that may address job security could be maybe communication skills, right? If you're selling an English class or language class or presentation class, then you can tap or appeal on this aspect of the customer, which is, they're worried about their job security, and by having certain skills or products that are being offered to them, they can at least alleviate and relieve some of this worry. Right? Next, we look at customer pains. Pains can come in the forms of annoyance, anything that does not make them happy, before, during, and after trying to get a job done, right? So we can look at phases of where this pain is happening, right? Or simply prevent them from getting a job done. They could not do something because they don't have enough time. They could not do something because they do not have the skill set or competency. So these are examples of pain, right? For example, if people are taking medication, for example, the pain is they might forget when, or did I take that medication, or when should I take it, or I have to eat before that, but I could not get food unless I step out of my office, and things like that, right? Pain also describes risk, and that is the potential of bad outcomes. It means that the other pain is not pain that's happening now, but pain that could happen. So by offering products that relay some of these pains, you can address this part of the customer profile, right? So these are some types of customer pain, right? Undesired outcome, problems, or characteristic. Some examples, they get something, it doesn't work, or doesn't work as well as they expected, or there is a negative side effect, right? I do this, but I could not do that. For example, if you're on a Mac like me, right? One of the undesired outcome of using a Mac is when people ask us to go on Skype, for example. It's not that friendly, right? That means that it doesn't integrate well. So I'm always worried if the customer or my client, for example, asks me to have a chat on Skype. So always some technical issues. So I prefer Zoom, for example. And look bad. Another undesired outcome is the product or services that they currently are using make them look bad or feel bad every time they're doing it. So that's undesired. Obstacle describe barriers. So barriers, example, lack of time. I mentioned, like eating healthier is a lot of work. You have to prep meals. Other obstacle is my supermarket that I have near my house doesn't offer a wide variety. They always offer like unhealthy choices, right? Or healthy food can be too expensive at the moment. So they can't afford the existing solution. So obstacles describe barriers. Undesired outcomes describe the side effects, right? Risks, on the other hand, describe what potentially could happen, like I said earlier. So some of the risks are losing credibility when using certain solutions. That means that currently what they are using may not make them look professional in an office setting, for example. Or if beauty products, right, they might have breakouts and all that. So these are risks if they eat certain things, for example, or if they wear certain product. Another example of risk is security. It means that if you're working at a very sensitive, or your customer is working with very sensitive information, they need people to be very discreet and practice confidentiality. So that may be a risk that your product could address. But the key point here is not to look at your product first, but to really deep dive and understand your customer, right? Sometimes when we deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, they tend to jump the gun, and they tend to, because they like the idea and they think that, so it's a risk because the product is not validated. By doing this customer profile, you can move your idea to validation, right? Okay, lastly, we look at gains. So gain describes the outcome and benefit that your customer want. Some gains are required, some are expected, and some are desired by customers, whereas there are some gains they don't even know that they want them, right? For some of you, maybe you've attended some courses and all that, you're familiar with the Johari window, right? Johari window, they say that there are known knowns, there are known unknowns, there are unknown unknowns, right? So surprise can be quite pleasing sometimes, right? Yeah, let me just make okay. So these are some examples of gains. Required gains are like the minimum expectation. If your product don't have this, the customer won't even bother to consider it. So the most basic examples are for smartphones, the most basic expectation is you can at least make a call with it, right? So that's like minimum. So there's also expect the smartphone to be well designed and looks good. So the basic requirement is can do certain functions, maybe can use the internet and all that. So they expect it to look nice. That's a slightly extra that they would like when they make their consideration. And the third level is desired. It means that if I can afford it and they meet the requirement and they meet my expectations, I would like the smartphone to integrate with my other devices. If I have a smartwatch or I have a laptop or if I have a smart TV, it would be nice for my phone to integrate with all the things that I have, right? So one example of unexpected gain is when Apple, way back in 2007, I think that's like what, 13 years ago, introduced the iPhone. So at that time, nobody expected like a touchscreen or an app store can be part of the phone. And once they start using it, they find it quite desirable. All right. So when you look at the jobs that your customer is looking at, when you look at the pain that your customers are facing, when you look at the gain that they're looking to gain, right? You would like to rank, or you should try to rank them at levels of extremes, right? For example, is this job very important, right? Or is it insignificant or less significant, right? Secondly, what is the pain severity, right? Is it just a slight annoyance, like a very moderate pain, or is it an extreme pain, right? For example, for some people working in a corporate setting, language skills, for example, is an extreme pain, right? It means that if they are not able to communicate well, know that it is probably something that make them less productive, less effective, and maybe even have a negative perception from their colleagues, right? And thirdly, when we look at gain relevance, is this gain essential or is it just a nice to have? Okay, let's look at job importance, right? For example, the customer is looking to go on a date, right? So the most important thing is probably it is something that's enjoyable by both parties, right? But the less important job is probably maybe it's extravagant. It doesn't have to be like a big gesture. So big gesture is not so significant, but it's more consistency perhaps, right? So the pain, for example, pain of getting a babysitter may be quite extreme, right? But the pain of sort of like having things happening as planned or the queue, that's probably quite moderate, right? I mean, it is not nice, but it's tolerable. But if your product can actually address that pain of queuing by doing online booking and all that, then you are matching and meeting or resolving the customer pain, right? Next, in terms of gain, right? Something that they would like to talk afterwards. Is it something important? Depends on the customer, right? If they are the type that do not have, are not communicating to each other, then maybe it is quite essential that this thing that they do, whether it's going to an art gallery or going to a theater or going to a movie, but it's essential that it's something that actually leads to a nice conversation, right? For example, okay? All right. So these are the first exercise for today. The first exercise is to list 3 to 5 jobs that your customer need to be done and order them based on the job importance, right? From important to insignificant. Next, list 3 to 5 customer pains that your customer face and order them again based on severity. So this actually is quite important because sometimes one of the problems that I encounter with dealing with many entrepreneurs is their problem is not something that is really desirable by customer, right? So maybe, not maybe, this activity is actually a good way of starting with your customer first. Ask yourself, who's your ideal customer? Observe them. Observe them. What are the job, pain, and gain that they're looking at, right? And thirdly, list 3 to 5 customer gains that your customer desire and order them again based on gain relevance. But bear in mind, guys, when we look at this, right, it is actually the entire customer. It's interconnected. The pain, the jobs might sort of like relate to one another because we are still dealing with the same customer. And after you've completed the first 3 exercises, update your customer profile, right? On the Google Cloud that we are link that we're sharing, right? What you can do is you can use shapes and text tools and all that, and just create them and paste them like this. So this applies also to your BMC that you're supposed to do from last week's module, right? Okay, let's pause for a while. Can I take some questions? Is there something that you need more clarification? Any question regarding customer, or maybe if you can share your own product or your own customer that you're trying to work with, maybe you can give an example or ask a question, what may be their pain? Okay, I have a question from Crystal here. For an online marketplace business, can we divide customer profiles into vendors and customer? Yes. When you're doing this customer profile, that means that for vendors and customer, you will probably do 2 customer profile because they are different, right? Or if you want to do on one, what you can do is you can separate them, right? One of the digital post-it, since we're doing it digitally, can be in yellow color and the other one can be on red color. But I think to make it clearer, I would suggest just to duplicate a copy of the customer profile and do one for each. So for an online marketplace, Crystal, can I ask you a question? What kind of marketplace are you doing and who are the customers that you're targeting? Are they people who are like buying food, or are they buying fashion stuff? Are they buying supplements? Crystal, are you there? Okay. Okay, so selling fashion brand, right? So your customer profile may be, I'm assuming, ladies, perhaps, right? Age, maybe if they're working age, they may be about 23 to 40, right? So from there, you look at them, what are the pain points? What are the job that they need to be done? Is they need to get something that is fashionable for them to buy, something that makes them look good, right? So the pain that they're currently having is there's not many choices, or it's inconvenient to go to shops, or the existing offering in other marketplace are not catering to the her personality, right? For example, and the gains that she's looking at is something that's affordable, something that lasts long, or something that is different, right? Because many times people just go to Uniqlo. It's quite embarrassing. I love to go to Uniqlo myself, but I always like meet somebody who wear the same shirt as I, or sometimes the entire outfit from shirt to pants is the same. So it's quite funny actually. How about online and walk-in customer? I think before you go to online or walk-in customer, when we look at the customer profile, I think it's more looking at the behaviors of the customer. So the online and walk-in can be in terms of your later on when we look at the value map. So you can offer a walk-in and online as a trade of the offer that you're offering. But right now we're not there yet. So it's very important to focus on customers. I do this all the time when we have physical classes as well. People, business owners tend to always go back to their product because that's where they're comfortable, right? Now we want to go to some place where maybe it's not so comfortable with us. Just focus on observing your customer behaviors, pains, right? And some, I mean, the functional need, the social needs, and also the personal needs of the customer. So when you talk about online, then the personal need is maybe they want something. They don't have time, right? So that's personal, right? In terms of social, maybe how it looks, or it doesn't affect the status and all that. On a functional need, they just want it to arrive with the right size. Might be some of the concerns, right? When it comes to online shopping, I've heard some people saying that, oh, I could never shop for shoes online because it's hard, right? But I've tried it. I've shopped for shoes, and I think in US they have this brand called Zappos online, which sells shoes. I think they still exist, and they're one of the biggest online retailer actually, right? And in Japan, there's one business, I don't quite recall the name, but it's a unicorn where you actually wear a costume that they send to you. And from there, they can actually measure based on the balls or the markers on the suit for you to create an outfit that really fits your size. So, okay. Tay Deng Yang. And that's fine because Tay, this is another misconception. When you're dealing with B2B market like supermarket, restaurants, right? You're not dealing with the physical building. There are still people there. So who are the people in the organization, the B2B, that you're trying to convince, right? Are you dealing with junior staff? Are you dealing with the middle manager? Are you dealing with the owner of the business? So find the pains and the gains and the job that needs to be done by the owners, by the managers that are making the decision. But don't worry about it. I'm not criticizing Tay, but it's a very common misconception that B2B, there's no customer profile. Hold on, let me try and read. Yes, that can be one of the pain. The pain, it's very funny that if I were to call you Mr. iPad or Miss iPad, the pain of the customer, the illustration or the photo doesn't really match is one of the risks that customer have. So later on when you design product and services, one thing that you can do is by providing reviews, right? So that means that can bridge some of the gap in terms of their worries, or you can even have like in the review, your customer, your previous earlier customer can actually post photo that how it looks like, for example, right? Okay, let me try to read this from Dennis. Our customer come from various sectors from construction industry. Do you profile them based on industries, contractors, engineers? Okay, this is very interesting, Dennis. When you look at customer, right? One way to take a step back and assess your customer is there is this thing called the buyer chain, right? The buyer chain is actually the people who actually makes the purchase, the person who actually use the item that is being purchased, and there is people who has the power to influence the purchase. So for example, for certain product, the people who have the biggest influence are normally the CEO, right? If you tackle that, normally they can influence the buyer and the user, right? But at the same time, sometimes if you do not have access to the influencer or the influencer doesn't involve themselves in the buying process, then it's important to, if you're selling a manufacturing product, right? I have clients who in oil and gas industry who makes like mechanical valve, precision engineering items and all that. So what they need to do is they need to appeal their product to the needs of the engineers. The engineers want things fast, want things that reliable, want things that have after sales service if they need to, right? 24/7 perhaps. So that's building a product that appeals to one customer profile. Whereas the buyer, they want to see that there's no hidden costs, right? Or it's competitive or affordable against other people. So once you understand both customers for the same product, then when you build your product tend to be sort of maybe head and shoulders above others that does not appeal to both the end user and also the buyer, right? The purchaser. Okay. For example, in many organizations, large organizations, they have the procurement process and all that. So they want to see compliance, right? They want to see track record. Right? They want to eliminate risks, right? Whether your company is covered by insurance and all that. They want to see certifications, right? So that appeals to the buyer part. For when it comes to the practical part, the end user part, then they want something that's light maybe. They want something that's still durable, or the materials can withstand certain conditions, for example, right? Okay, I hope I answered your question, Dennis. Okay, let's look at this. Maaf, pengguna pada bahagian perabot, adakah customer profile beza dengan? Of course, you can. When you look at, Nerizam is asking in terms of customers that can afford and that can't afford, right? So that means that if you have customers that can't afford, right? When you create your product later on, you might include certain payment terms, for example, right? How do you go around it? So as businesses, when we look at the value map, it's about designing solutions that meets the observation that you've done using the customer profile. Let me just read the entire question in case I miss the point. All right. So maybe some customer, they can afford a little bit, so their need is more psychological. They want something that looks nice. They want something that is attractive. They want something that have a status symbol tied to it, right? Whereas people who maybe cannot afford those things, so they are more practical maybe, right? Of course, there are people who are like quite well-to-do but very practical. Many actually. People always say that the more money, the more kedekut people are sometimes, just for example. But in your case, then you build two customer profile. So you may have one product that caters to one market or one consumer segment, and another product that caters to another consumer segment. I think the key here sometimes is to consider your branding as well. I mean, we will discuss branding in future modules, but there are what we call a branded house. A branded house is like, if you're in construction industry, Caterpillar. Caterpillar is a branded house. There's one Caterpillar brand. If you buy a backhoe, or you buy a bulldozer, or you buy a stream roller, right? All of it is branded under Caterpillar. But there are brands that are what we call house of brands. So when your house of brands allow you to appeal to different type of customer segment, but still under one big holding umbrella company. So a good example is Swatch Group. Swatch Group that manufacture watches. So they have Omega, they have, I don't know, sure, Bremont and all that, which caters to a more high-end customer. Whereas they have another brand for mid customer like Longines or Hamilton, maybe, I don't know. And they have like a customer that appeals for people that is just beginning, maybe Swatch watch and maybe going up to Tissot and all that. So that's one approach if you have a different customer, but you don't want to dilute it. Because sometimes the premium customer don't want to buy the same brand as the people that is not picking on brands, for example, right? So that's one strategy, but it's beyond the topic for today for now, right? Okay. Thank you, guys. I like that we have a lot of questions. Did I miss any? Let me just have a look. Or if some of the answers you need more clarification, just share, right? I think the pains, as I said, some pains are not that serious. So the key thing is to focus on the ones that are really important. And when you negotiate to your customer as well, you can tell them that yes, they provide this, but that's not your real problem. Your real problem is this, and you get to do that because you've actually rank or arrange the needs based on the level of importance, significance, level of extreme and moderate pain, and also whether it's essential or nice to have. Okay, let us move on to the value map, right? Value map is the part where we design the solution. This is where your product comes in, right? Just now, that's where the customer lives, and this is where your product lives, heading towards appealing to your customer. So coming back to the date night situation that I was sharing earlier, I actually thought of several examples. It could be a movie night, it could be going to art exhibition. So I give an example of a couple going for a spa together, right? Spa for couple. So spa for couple is the product that you are offering to address the date night problem, right? Because it's special, right? And you can try different spas treatment, maybe Balinese or Swedish or Japanese or traditional Malay, right? Or Chinese or Indian massage, right? So it's a spa for couple is one example of a product that addresses the need that we talked about earlier. So the pain reliever is you can make booking and you don't have to queue, right? So you book your spa, whether you want to have it in the afternoon or at noon or at night, right? Or early in the morning. So you choose your time and you go there. And one of the problem with couples as well is maybe they are stressed, right? With the children, with the job, with each other, right? So one of the thing that the spa offer in terms of a pain reliever is it offers stress relief, right? So when you go out, you're like feeling good physically, and hopefully it will lead to happier mind, mental state and all that, right? And next, after that, it's ideal for conversation, right? They can talk about it, or because sometimes when you design the spa as well, it's not just the massage itself, it's the entire experience. Maybe you give certain drinks, or the decoration of the place, or the music that they have there, right? Or maybe the people that work at the spa can explain the story behind the massage, right? Or the spa, right? And things like that. Okay, and it can be it can be designed as well. Choose this time that you go. It can be at what time, but at the same time, it can also be how long, right? You want a full day, you want a half day, you want an hour or 2 hours. So it's one of the example of how we design solution that matches the customer need, right? Okay, so when we look at the value map, sorry. So the first part is this on the right hand side, which is the product and services. So this simply lists what is it that you offer. Think of it as all the items your customer can see in this in the shop window, metaphorically speaking, right? So what is it that you offer to your customer, right? Massage, music, different type of oils, right? Things like that. Okay. So when it comes to product and services, it can be physical and tangible, what people actually can see, right? If you're doing beauty line, for example, can be your range of products, right? Cleanser, mask, and all those things, right? Next, it can be in digital form as well. I've seen some of the participants in the Q&A just now. You actually ask marketplaces or online marketplace. So that can be a digital product that you offer, right? But that offer can be, does it include delivery? Does it include recommendations and all that? So that can be part of the digital offering. Right? The other one is in financial, if you're working in P2P platform or any financial services. So these are just examples. Obviously, it's not exhaustive. It can be many others as well, right? Okay. In the value map, there is the pain reliever. Describe how exactly your product and services alleviate certain customer pains. So when working on the value map, go back to the customer profile, make sure that it talks to each other. It's in relation with each other, right? So once we have identified what is important and your product actually resolve that, right? They specifically outline what you intend to eliminate and reduce. Some of the things that annoys your customer before. For example, we talk about queuing, right? When I mentioned one of the pain points is they don't like waiting in line, right? During, Maybe during it's not much connection because you can't talk in the cinema and all that, but maybe in the spa you can talk to each other, right? A little bit if you can. And after, right? After they are looking for conversations and all that. So with that, you relieve that pain of not having anything in common that you can talk about, right? Okay, all right. So if you look at this, even what if, right? What if the spa offer babysitter? I know from experience with some 5-star hotels, right? They actually offer babysitter service if you want to go to the spa at a very reasonable rate. So that actually helps alleviate pain, right? If a family who can afford it want to choose a hotel and all that, and that hotel offer babysitter services done by professionals, and they probably pick that over the other. So that's example of a value map and customer profile in action. So ask yourself, what are the pain relievers, right? Does this produce savings in terms of time and money and effort? Does it make your customer feel better? Kills certain frustrations, annoyance, and other things that give your customer headaches, like I mentioned earlier, babysitting. Fix underperforming solutions. If, for example, other people are not offering it or other people are not totally solving the problem, does your solution fix those problems, right? Put an end on difficulties and challenges for customers. Your customer encounter or fear, right? Put an end means that if they fear certain things like safety, right? If you look at certain cars nowadays, they have like auto braking system, right? They have like certain car theft technology that helps them trace back their cars and all that. So it puts an end on certain challenges that your customers encounter and fear, right? Next, eliminate risk for that your customers fear. This can be feeling embarrassed or not integrating with system, technical risk. I talked about Skype earlier, right? And that's why people are mostly using Zoom nowadays, right? And other things that could potentially go wrong. Okay. Lastly, we look at the gain, right? The gain that customers are looking at is being mirrored and reflected in the value map as a gain creator. So gain creator describe how your product and services create customer gains. They explicitly outline how you intend to produce outcomes and benefits that your customer expects, desires, and would be surprised by. Remember earlier I mentioned at the gain that they're looking at. So there are gains that are expected, there are gains that are desired, and there are gains that is nice. It's like, wow, I didn't expect that. And that's usually the top part of the gain, right? Including functional, utility, social gains, positive emotion, and cost savings, right? So this is some trigger questions, right? When you're working on your own value map later, I've actually shared 3 sets of questions that you can ask yourself. Does my product create savings in terms of money, time, and effort? Produce outcomes your customer expect or exceed the expectations? This could be quality levels, more of something or less of something. More doesn't always mean good because people sometimes don't need more. A very good example is obviously AirAsia, right? AirAsia just give you the thing that you need. You need to get from point A to point B. Some people want to eat, some people don't want to eat. So it's your choice, right? Some people want to carry luggage, some don't want to carry luggage. Ask yourself again in terms of gain, does this outperform other things that your customers are using, right? So example of this is we will compare BMW and Mercedes-Benz, right? BMW is supposed to be the ultimate driving machine. So it's very much about the driver, whereas Mercedes-Benz is very much on comfort and on elegance and on luxury. So it doesn't focus so much on the driver, but the entire passenger, including the driver. Next, in terms of gain, will this make your customer's life and work easier, right? Through various things, right? Easy to get, convenient, fast response or real time, right? A low cost of ownerships and maintenance. So these are examples of gain creator that a product and services a business can create, right? And lastly, does it have any social consequence? Does it increase my status, right? Somebody wearing a Rolex right? So it's they don't just buy a 40,000 or 100,000 watch just because it tells time, right? It actually gives them other benefits beyond that, right? Does it make them look good or produce and increase their power or status? So in terms of value map, right? Just as you have done with your customer profile, I encourage you to actually rank them and list them and order them according to essentials and nice to have, right? Is this part of the product that's essential to have, right? The pain reliever, is it essential to have this pain reliever, or it's just a nice to have, right? For example, a pain reliever that one airline, I think Malaysia Airline introduced a pain reliever when you're flying on the A380. I think back then, I do not know whether they still have this policy. In first class, they don't allow, or business class or first class, they don't allow children. I think maybe business class. That means that for people working, they will not get the baby crying and all that. But it may alienate certain customers. So maybe it's a nice to have, but maybe not so essential because other airlines are not following that rule, right? Lastly, gain creator, again, essential and non-essential gains, right? We're looking at the date example just now when you talk about the spa, right? Is it important that the babysitter, right? Maybe it is important, right? It means that they have peace of mind that the children are being taken care of, right? So this is supposed to be number 2, activity 2, value map. I need to change that. I'll give you the revised link, right? So in terms of product and services, just as you have done with the customer profile, order them based on their relevance, right? From essentials to nice to have. With the pain relievers, the same thing. List the pain relievers for your customers and order them again based on relevance, essential and nice to have. And thirdly, list 3 to 5 customer gains for your customer and order them again based on relevance. I think the key word here is relevance, right? You want to create value that actually customer want and desire, right? There's a lot of businesses that fail. We look at the video early on, 70% businesses fail within the first year or within launch, right? Because they're simply not relevant to customers, right? But it doesn't mean that your product is bad. Maybe you need to look for other customers, right? They may not be relevant to this group of customer, but they may be relevant to others, all right? So, and then update your value map. So let's take some more questions, guys. Is there any question on value map or the unique clarification in terms of product and services based on the customer profile? Any question on is this a pain or is this a gain? But if you are looking to answer the relevance, right, you can go back to the first lesson that we did on webinar number 1, design thinking, meaning you can sit down and observe your customer segment, or you can actually go and approach them and interview them. And if you interview a few, then you will get something. And more often than not, I think you have to go out there, because if you just sit and design your product in your office and all that, and normally you will miss out certain things. There are things that maybe it's unspoken or it's not something that is readily clear unless you actually meet up with somebody, you know, and try to pick it out of them, right? Any question, guys? We have some time here. Or you're typing. All right. Dennis, I like Dennis. He always asks questions. I like questions. Dennis, do we need to present the data collected from the interview? You don't need to. But if you want, okay, the unique thing about this online module that we're doing, right, is that you can actually put as many pages as you want. If you want to show your reference, you want to show the photo of you interviewing someone, it's much appreciated, and it benefits both sides as well. It's a good copy for you to show your process, right? And I think it's a nice nice thing to keep as well, right? Because in developing your product, we started with design thinking in terms of how to come up with an idea for your business that matches customer need. We look at the business model, and then we go back and converge back and focus and zoom in on the value props. So the program is designed such that I think you will come out of the 10 module, I hope and I believe, stronger, right? With a better understanding of your product, a better understanding of your customer, right? Okay, very good question from Amalina. Amalina asks, is value proposition bersandarkan kepada pelanggan sebagai keutamaan atau produk itu sendiri? Always focus on your customer, right? That's number one. Your product should always match your customer. And the key word here is what we call product market fit, right? That means that the product fits the market. So when you talk about customer profile and value map that we are looking at today, it's all about fit actually. If there's fit, then the business will happen on itself. You will be able to automate it. You will be able to add technology to it. You will be able to automate aspect of it. But if there's no fit and you're always looking for customers, then it's very hard for businesses to expand, right? I think, for example, if people are in F&B business, they make pasta, for example, right? Once that pasta is accepted by certain group, what they can do is they can repeat and scale the business. Repeat and scale the business. So that's where you grow from a business, what we call an owner-operator. An owner-operator is, he's doing the business, he has to do everything A to Z, or at least A to Q, right? But for Shell LiveWIRE, where we want to take our entrepreneurs, all of you, is actually to shift from owner-operator to, at the very minimum, owner-manager. That means that you still need to manage, right? But you're no longer the one who's like climbing the ladder and putting up the thing on the wall and all that, right? So at least that's the next step. It means that the business is actually sort of benefiting the owner rather than the owner, having to work and do everything, right? But obviously there are other steps. After being owner manager, then probably you can slowly get another manager and more at the director level or at the owner level, right? Okay. So long answer, but Melina, short answer is it should always start with your customer, right? Does this really help your customer, right? For example, for consultants, right? One of the pain that customer have is they struggle with reports, right? So if you're a consultant and you help customer actually have information, data, and all that supplements their report, so that's added value that can benefit your customer, right? All right. Any more questions, guys? We still have some time, maybe one or two questions. Okay, before we go, there's a question. Is it possible to get the teaching and slides for module 1 and 2? Yes, you can. Tay, if you are like shy to post on the group, maybe you can WhatsApp Amanina personally, and she will give you the link to module 1 and 2. It is possible. Guys, the idea here is, I know maybe because of scheduling and all that, weekends, maybe you have a family outing and all that, we're not going to be too rigid, but obviously, in consideration, there is some weightage in terms of attendance. But at the same time, we also try our best to accommodate, right? So number one, you can get the slides from Amanina. Number two is next week, we'll try to post the video on YouTube for reference, all right? Any question on the assignments? And no problem, the link works, right? So if you haven't got the link, please ask from Amanina again. She's doing very well helping with the communication and license with all the participants. Moses, any question?
Just want to ask one question, me and Crystal. This is regarding pivoting.
All right.
Especially, is there, for example, like when we do our business, initially we target a certain customer segment, right? So once we launch the business, the business actually resonates with another customer segment.
I understand. I think because there's no way for any business to, I mean, there's no way for sure unless you actually go to market, right? A very famous saying is Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson say that everybody have a strategy and plan until they get punched in the face. Right? It means that until you get into the ring, until you get into the market, there's no way to know for sure. Sometimes your strategy works, but more likely than not, it's not going to be 100%, right? So the idea here is to adopt a lean method where you're always constantly learning. You're always what we call building, measuring, and learning. That means that you build, you have data to support whether this works or it doesn't work. And data comes in many forms. Data can come in the form of, if you're an online business, data can be on daily active users, monthly active users. If you're on, for yourself, you're doing online shopping, right? Online retail. Right? So maybe you can look at abandonment. Is there enough traffic? There's no traffic, right? And you can also look in terms of your customer profile. Because with online business, the beautiful thing is it's easier for you to capture data. You know the age, you know the gender, you know where the geographies are, right? Just like our discussion of business model canvas last week, right? All that actually allows you to cater to which customer, right? But it doesn't mean you abandon the old customer. There must be a reason why you thought that customer was ideal, right? At the same time, you can also still evolve and see, can I still capture this customer segment as well, right? If you look at, again, I would joke about Uniqlo, everybody wear the same thing, right? You look at Uniqlo, right? They have many segments, right? I mean, they have women, they have men, they have kids, right? They have office, they have leisure, right? So in retail, maybe there's a lot of ways you can segment them, and rather than just taking the wallet of just one segment, you can take money from many segments' wallet, right? But at the same time, consider what I shared earlier about the house of brands and branded house, right? Sometimes the two segments may be incompatible, right? It depends on how you plan your branding strategy, right?
And one more thing. So when do we know when to expand the customer segment, to expand the market? Because my worries is that we are focusing on too many customer segments.
Yes, I agree. You cannot focus on too many. I think the key here is balancing between what you're good at and what I mean, whether the customer sort of accepts the product, right? Again, it's about fit here, right? So in the beginning, the question is capacity, for example, right? You have limited resources, so you want to target what we call the early adopters. Who would be the easiest customer for you to get yesterday or now, right? Once you got those customers, then you can explore the next phase. What are the adjacent customers, right? And thirdly, you look at what are the customers that's not adjacent, but a little bit further, right? So that's where I think you go on a sort of like a sunray radial thing, rather than jumping here and there and losing focus and like being a Frankenstein, right? For example, if you are in construction industry, your adjacent customer might be developers, or maybe you might go on the supply chain, different part of the supply chain, right? Or you can even tackle people who are doing similar business to you that lack certain capabilities. So from there, you expand in a way that you can still reuse some of the resources that you have and maybe add on certain capabilities rather than reinvesting on an entire new complete system. Never mind, give it a crack first, right? but I'm sure you're quite popular. Your video is quite well done, actually. I was very impressed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right then, guys. It's 11:05 already. I don't want to take too much of your weekend's time. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 3 o'clock, right? And we'll discuss. Okay, just a little bit preview. Today we zoom in on the value, the business model canvas to look at the value proposition canvas. Tomorrow we'll zoom out. We'll look at the market environment. All right. So I hope to see all of you tomorrow. Thank you, guys.